Madam Web definitely looks like a movie that appears to be coming out. Yes, we are indeed past the point of these sorts of movies being a big deal, fans caring about this sort of thing. The hype train has left the station. Another Marvel project. I mean, at least it's not Disney Marvel, it's Sony. But they seem to be following the same sorts of patterns with this one. Let's tell the story of a character, a female character, who is a relevant comic character, but we're not going to tell her story, we're going to tell ours. But we will use the name Madam Web to attract undeserved attention to our project. This is something I've talked about multiple times on the channel before. My favorite example, or should I say least favorite, is The Witcher, but this is being done everywhere. Like here, and here, here, and here. See, big production companies don't want to risk money on a movie that doesn't have a recognizable name, a recognizable IP. Yet these writers and directors care far less about honoring these characters of the past and care more about flexing their creative chops. And the production companies just care about money. So these companies market the hell out of the name, and the so-called creatives just come up with whatever story suits their fancy, and the rest is history. Welcome to the 2020s. And this particular film, Madam Web, is a perfect example of what happens when you give a Spider-Man character to someone who knows nothing about Spider-Man. S.J. Clarkson, our acclaimed director of the film, who claims that Madam Web is an origin story in a standalone world. In an interview with Entertainment Weekly, Clarkson said the following, quote, "She's definitely in a standalone world. I was able to just have free reign and let the movie be what it needed to be, as opposed to trying to force it into something else. That was a gift in a way, to be able to take something and bring a fresh and I hope original take to it," end quote. There's that word again, fresh. I've said this in videos before too. Every time you hear that word in that context, you can nigh guarantee it's not going to be fresh. It's going to be more of the same. You know what would be fresh? Doing justice by the character you've been tasked with bringing to the big screen. How about tell the story the original creators of that character intended? I mean, I'm not expecting all of you listening to know who Madam Web is, but it's not her. It's her. Appearing as an elderly woman in the comics, Madam Web is a mutant. She was born blind and has myasthenia gravis, or MG, a neuromuscular disease. She's connected to a life support system designed by her husband with a series of tubes and such that resemble a web. This is just some girl who can see the future sometimes. That's just its own thing. A movie about some girl that can see the future sometimes, that's not fresh. Not saying it's a bad idea for a movie, but it's not fresh. There seems to be Spidey things going on in the movie, but without context, all I see is a woman who can see the future sometimes getting involved with some Spidey people, not Spider-Man. Because, you know, it's a standalone world, has nothing to do with Spider-Man. I mean, if it is an origin story, then you could say that Spider-Man isn't around yet because Cassandra Webb is still a young woman, but yeah, very much not blind, not paralyzed, and according to the director, nothing to do with Spider-Man, which is precisely what she meant by standalone. She's not dictated by maintaining continuity with the MCU or the spiderverse or what have you, and apparently isn't even mandated to maintain any resemblance to the original character that the flippin' movie is named after. And does anybody even care anymore? I mean, I do, or at least I should say I did, back when the MCU was somewhat true to the character's lore and behaviors and abilities. I liked it, but my expectations have been quelled. This is what I've come to expect, so no, I guess I don't really care anymore. There was a time when Marvel projects could practically do no wrong by me. But once big production companies like Disney and Sony became more focused on pushing an agenda rather than telling good stories that honored the original characters, I'm out. According to Deadline, Madam Web is on track to be the lowest grossing Spider-Verse movie yet. Not especially surprising given that it's not Peter Parker or Miles Morales, or really any other highly recognizable character, but that projection does include Morbius, and we all know how that went. The Bob Marley movie One Love is projected in the $27 to $33 million range, while Madam Web is projected in the same weekend at about $25 million. Not often you see something beat a Marvel movie. Last year, during the same weekend, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania pulled $120 million, and that film was deemed a major flop. I think the first Marvel movie to lose money at the box office. It also had an insane budget of $200 million, however. Point is, things aren't looking good for this film. Madam Web had a much more conservative budget of $80 million, but that's only conservative by Marvel standards. That's still a massive amount of money. And with all the marketing I've seen for it, it's gonna have to pull likely at least $150 million just to break even. And the expected earnings, $56 to $101 million. Again, these aren't overly surprising figures given the character they've chosen to adapt, but also just given the state of the fandom right now. 9 Marvel projects were released in 2022, 7 in 2023. This year, only 4 are scheduled to release, and that's tentative. They clearly are starting to get the picture, it's too much. And not only is the market overly saturated with this kind of content, but the quality has gone so far down it's laughable. Of course, companies like Disney are going to go with, oh, we oversaturated the market, superhero fatigue, blah blah blah, and what have you. And I won't deny that's part of it, but a far bigger part is the stories, or lack thereof, that they've chosen to tell. And Madam Web, just more of the same. Last video, everybody, please subscribe. I really like making these and I'd like to keep making them, so please subscribe and like the video. If you stuck around this long, I thank you for watching. Have a great day.